Is it possibly true? Are insurers actually short paying more and more claims? Stay tuned. We'll find out, and we have a lot to say about it. Hey, welcome back to the Airing of Grievances. My name's Eric. This is Rob, and we're thrilled that you are here with us. Listen, about a couple of days ago, Teresa Moss over at Repair Driven News, always doing a great job over there.
Thank you, Teresa.
Came up with this article titled, Bank Rate Article Gives Consumers Clearer Picture of How Insurers Are Increasing Short Payments for Collision Repair.
Isn't that a double negative? They're increasing, not paying?
Yeah.
They're increasing, decreasing?
It sure sounds familiar. So, Rob, before we get into the whole thing, though, it's always our custom. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you, my dear friends. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. We so appreciate every single one of you, your comments, your shares, your likes. All of it means the world, and hopefully we're returning the favor by giving you some great content to think about and help you through a ugly process.
Absolutely. All right, this article that Teresa wrote, we're going to kind of pick and choose certain elements of it because she is picking and choosing elements of a bankrate, bankrate.com article that was written about how insurers are increasing short payments. Short payments, if you're just starting with us brand new, is that the insurer should pay you this much, but they decide they're going to pay you this much.
Yeah, that'll be enough.
Yeah.
It's all about your indemnification. Are they indemnifying you fully, or are they not?
Big words. What does that mean?
Well, I'm not a lawyer or insurance guy, so I'll probably leave that to them.
Indemnification, that word means make you whole.
Make you whole.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So, at the same time Eric brought this article up, we happen to have a situation going on.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have it times 50, but
on any given day.
This one really, was shocking to me, and I think you'll see why. What we're talking about is a 2024, pretty friggin' brand new.
Yeah.
GMC Yukon.
Okay.
So imagine you're minding your own business, driving nice, and somebody rear-ends you. For whatever reason. They rear-ended you in your brand new vehicle, and guess what? Now you have to deal with it.
Yep.
And so you decide to go through the other person's insurance, which is recommended. You do have a choice. You could go just through yours. But I would always probably start with going through somebody else's first.
Sure.
And so this thing got hit square in the bumper, actually on the corner, and not only destroyed the bumper cover itself.
Yeah, that's the plastic cover.
Plastic piece.
Yep.
But also the reinforcement behind it. That's the safety item that keeps you safe.
Yes.
So that needs to be replaced as well. Here's the question. Is the frame damaged? Was the frame bent during this thing, Eric?
No one could possibly know unless you set it up and measure it on the machine just in the back of our set back there.
You can't tell.
You can't tell.
Now, if it had a big old buckle in it, you could tell.
Sure.
But just because it doesn't have the presence of a big old buckle,
Yes.
doesn't mean it's not bent.
Because you taught us many, many years ago now that energy has to go somewhere,
It travels.
right?
Yes.
And you can't know just by looking whether or
I
not
can't.
the energy, well, you're the expert.
Yeah.
You can't know where the energy went to. So you got to set it up. You got to measure it.
But what if it doesn't look bent to me?
Well, I know that you're playing the part of the insurance adjuster, and I'll say your opinion doesn't really much matter.
Let's see what the insurance adjuster said.
Let's do.
So, he comes out and looks at the vehicle, goes over our estimate. We clearly have a setup and measure of the frame on this
Yes.
because we don't know. It's like going to your doctor. I think my arm is broken. Unless it's folded in half, they're going to take an x-ray. They're going to do something to verify how bad is it? Is there anything? Maybe it's just bruised. We don't know.
It's the appropriate thing to do.
So we have to measure it.
Yes.
All right. Juster writes in his email, I know I touched base with Greg on this one while I was out. We would not pay to set up and measure this vehicle just because the lower bracket was bent and there were some scratches on the reinforcement. I think he might be minimizing it just a little
Some
bit.
scratches.
Yeah. I'm fine with replacing the impact bar.
Oh,
Thanks.
That's more than a scratch.
But after inspection, there was no shifting to any of the mounting areas that would require a setup and measure. As with the SRS inspection, if there are no codes coming from the pre and post scans, we would not pay to have the SRS system inspected.
That reminds me of the drug inspections for the cars. We're not going to pay for that. You can pay for that. If it shows up that there were drugs, maybe we'll pay for that. But if there are no drugs, you're going to pay for that.
Yeah. So, one of my other teammates here writes back, the whole purpose of doing a measurement to the frame is to verify that there is not any hidden damage to the frame that is not clearly visible. This is especially important when replacing a rear impact bar, reinforcement bar, considering that it bolts to the frame of the vehicle.
Seems to make sense to me. If you can't see it, you still got to measure it.
And I thought he did a very nice job. It's not in your face or anything.
It's educational.
Well, he responds, I'm aware of what measuring the frame confirms.
That sounds like a no shoot, Sherlock.
Yeah. However, if there's no clear signs of frame damage, there'd be no reason to set it up and measure it. How do you know? Because you don't see any? I can't see. Here's the best part, folks. Buckle up. Buckle up. I can't imagine how high insurance rates would be if we aligned and set up and measured every vehicle that was in a collision.
Wow. He put it in writing.
There it is. So, I'd just like to point out we're not talking about every car. We're talking about this car.
That's
And
true.
they would say the same thing to us.
That's right.
It's a case-by-case basis. If it was hitting the door and it just dented the door, we probably wouldn't have a setup and measure on there. So there'd be one you didn't have to worry about. But this one was clearly hitting the rear and bent the impact bar.
Right.
So, the impact bar is being replaced only because of the lower bracket that holds the bumper is bent. Everything else is typical for what we normally approve of. I can pay for the calibration for the blind spot and the steering column measurement from the dealer once you have the invoices. We wouldn't pay for SRS inspections unless there's signs of issues with the SRS in the pre-scan.
So there's another scan that he doesn't want to pay for.
It's actually not a scan. It's physically looking at particular items
I see.
and testing seat belts. And there's, now that you bring it up, there's 1, 2, 3, so that you know I'm not using blank papers.
Yeah.
3, 4,
You were that kid at school that always brought the homework in and showed everybody you
5, 6 pages.
did it. 6 pages of.
Things that need to be inspected. Now, they have them in categories. The first one, exceeds minor outer body panel cosmetic distortion without airbag deployment. You got a dent in your fender. You got a dent in your door.
Yeah.
It is, if it exceeds that,
Right.
now you have to start to do inspections.
Okay.
And then in some of these cases, the next one is pretensioner deployment, which is in the seat belts that would suck you in
Yep.
in the case of an accident. And that may happen and the airbags don't deploy.
Sure.
But then the next section is seat side airbag deploys. You got to do a whole bunch more stuff. And then frontal airbag deploys. You got to do even more stuff.
Sure.
So it's kind of segmented into, if it has these conditions, do this.
Right.
And because it needs more than just a bumper cover,
Right.
it needs a rebar.
Yes. The big
safety piece.
metal structure. Yep.
Now that falls into exceeds minor outer body and cosmetic, which includes all these things that need to be inspected.
6 pages.
Some of the other things in the column, that same item may need to be replaced. So
He doesn't want to do that.
he said it right there.
Yep.
We won't pay for the SRS inspection unless there's signs of issues with the SRS in the pre-scan. You have to look at some of these things with your own eyeballs.
Yeah.
And determine if there's any overheating. There's pages and pages. Like each one of those things has its own procedures on how they want that done.
Sure.
And it may or may not come up in a scan.
And it reminds me of the fact that you are the repair expert. They should be the payment expert. And
We're the repair expert going after the manufacturer
right.
expert.
Right.
Just doing what the engineers said needs to be done.
Yep.
So now the adjuster gets a hold of the guest,
Okay.
the vehicle owner,
Yep.
and then writes us back. I mean, we don't have any idea what the conversation was, but all we know is what he wrote us back.
Sure.
I've spoken with our member and made them aware on our position of the frame not being measured and that we would not be including that on our estimate, along with the SRS inspections, unless you can provide that in pre and post scans there was some sort of issue with the SRS that would warrant the inspections. She is aware if she would also like the frame measured, it would be an out-of-pocket expense.
Oh, no, you didn't.
It's right here. And then he says, I will, however, need invoices after the vehicle has been recalibrated and steering column inspected to add on the final supplement. So why would you pay for the necessary steering column inspection
Right.
and not the SRS inspection?
Both come out of the same repair manual.
They sure do. They're right next to each other, pretty much. So what he's saying here is, you think you have kidney disease, but until you go and prove it to us and go through all the diagnostics and CAT scans and pay for all that stuff yourself, we're not going to address it. And if you find something, then we'll take a look at it. That
Well-
is what people are dealing with today. I have example after example after example in the shop right now.
Yeah. And the reason we bring this to your attention, and the reason that Teresa wrote this article about the other article, is that this does happen all the time. And if you don't know, then one of the voices that is coming in one ear, it's kind of like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. If you don't know, you might be inclined to believe that that's the end of the story, the be all and end all answer. And it's not.
We called the guest and explained why the stuff is so important, showed them the documentation. The guest said, go ahead and do it. So, and I probably would too.
Sure.
If your plumber comes and says, you need this, I'm not a plumber. Put it in.
Right.
You know, and this is not our opinion. this is what GM says
Right.
needs to be done. And this is a brand new vehicle in an accident that this guest had nothing to do with other than they were there when it happened.
Yeah.
And part of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, this person's has an option to say, you know, to hell with you, I'll go through my own policy. And I don't know what they would be met with because I don't know what their own policy is. The one thing that's for sure is this is happening more and more often, and guests have a choice.
Yeah.
If you bring it to a shop that says you need to do these things and it's more money than you can pay for, or it's always going to be more, if you have to pay, it's more money than you should.
Right.
If it's somebody else's fault.
Yep.
You have the option to take it to one of their shops.
Yep.
And they have to do it for whatever the insurance company says, and they will not be doing those things. And now where is your confidence?
Yeah. That's a really good question.
On your brand new vehicle. That wasn't your fault.
It really shouldn't happen that way. We bring it to your attention so that you're aware. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, drop them in the comment box below. We're happy to answer those. Rob, thank you for bringing this to us. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you. Thank you. Thank you, our dear friends. Hope you found it valuable. And we got more to come.
Absolutely.
Have a great week. See you next Saturday. God bless. It's Aloha Friday. No work till Monday. Do 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 do.
That's going to make another video. Here we go.